Hello and welcome to the e-commerce leader series, the podcast dedicated to helping online leaders navigate the future of online retail with AI. I'm your host, Bryan Kinghorn, Head of Growth at Luca AI. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Ana Caria, who is the CFO at Churn. Ana, welcome to the show. Before we dive into our main topic of conversation, would you mind just explaining to our listeners a bit more about you, your background, and then what Churn does?
Yeah, welcome. All right, thank you for having me. So I'm a CFO at Churn. I've been working in startups and scale-ups for a while now as a CFO. So I help them transition often from startups to scale-ups and everything that involves that. I had this invite to join Churn maybe 2 years ago. And what we do is Churn is basically an AI-based tool or AI-based software to help prevent and reduce churn to all types of business.
Nice. And what initially, so I suppose two slants to this question. So what initially inspired you to get into the finance world when you were, starting your career, and then what made you want to join Churn as well?
Yeah. So the finance career comes very early because I've been always very fascinated about money and how money can do so much and why people are so fascinated about money. And of course, when I had to pick my career path, I wanted to be in the center of the topic of business. So that's what enables growth, right? It's often the investment and the money itself. So that was very easy. And in terms of what was the second question? Why did I join Churn?
Yeah, what inspired you to join Churn when you got that opportunity?
Yeah, so as a CFO, and I've been always focusing a lot in investment rounds and helping a company scaling, and usually that's a lot about growth, right? Mainly, something that often is very discussed is sustainable growth.
Yeah.
One thing about sustainable growth is churn. So most of the times, companies and these CEOs, founders, and also investors are very, very focused on growth in terms of sales, in terms of acquiring new customers and growing as much as possible. And usually churn is a bit the black swan, which is always a bit forgotten in that path. But to me, it's very visible and it's very obvious that it is a big part of sustainable growth.
Yeah, nice. And I suppose on the topic of churn, then, do you see that as being, or the Churn see that as being is that a marketing problem? Is it a customer success problem? Is it financial problem? What do you think causes churn, and how do you guys look to try and fix it?
Yeah, for me, I mean, I see it a bit as a financial problem, maybe because I'm looking at the impact of churn. So revenue growth might hide the churn factor. You might not see it there, but you will see it for sure in cash flow. And that doesn't lie, because not only you will lose the value of that customer, so you don't have that cash every month, or every year. But you also, people usually forget that the fact that customer was already paid for.
Yeah.
So you don't need to invest anymore. So in the cash part, you will see not only the losing part, but also the money you will invest again in acquiring another customer.
Yeah.
So it is a very financial problem, more than I think a marketing one or sales one. I don't think that counts. But the impact can be often not only in cash, but predicting revenue. It's also very difficult when you have churn, because it's not always the same churn, right, every time. Customer acquisition, that can also have an impact. It can grow. because you will need to invest more and more. Cash flow I already talked about, but even in valuations and when you analyze revenue and really the key of growth, the part of the sustainable growth, it has a huge impact because you can grow a lot with your marketing investment and sales, etc. But it's not going to be sustainable, right? If you're losing so many customers all the way.
Yeah, cool, nice one. No, really interesting to get your viewpoint on that. And then I suppose to take churn into the conversation here then. So exactly what is it that churn does to obviously help improve retention and limit churn?
Yeah, so churn now is very connected to what AI enable us to do, and also how the future is changing a lot, how we lose customers, right? Because we all seen it also in our own behavior, right? We want faster things, we want information right away, exactly tailored to us. So that has been changing also the way the companies lose their customers, right? It's not only about acquiring them and retaining them. It's about showing them how important they are and showing the value that they want. So it has to do a lot with personalization. And that's where churn comes in, because only with AI we can really predict behavior. So it's not really about eliminating churn, because that's not something we do. It's about predicting when you're losing the customers. So we look at all the signs, all the behaviors, not only with company data, which is something that even me as CFO, I need to do it. Yeah. I need to look at the data and see what are the signs, but also looking at the behavior of your customers. So what do they do before they churn? So are they, what is the engagement? Is it increasing? Is decreasing? Is the value showed oftentimes? Yes or no? So this is really what churn does at the core.
And what type of behaviors would you identify as like an obvious thing that might show that a customer is likely to leave?
I think first of all, the engagement is the first one, right? If you're not using something, you're most probably going to churn. You might not churn today, but you will churn eventually when you understand that you're paying for something that you're not even using, right? That is very often that happens to all of us. I think that engagement probably is the most obvious one. Yeah. Changes in behavior that is also connected to engage, but not only. I can tell you, for instance, one thing that we noticed with some customers is events of the world, right? So if you have, right now we have the World Cup. Yeah. You have a lot of people engaging on that topic, right? And a lot of subscriptions maybe in that topic. Yeah. When it ends, you might view a change of behavior, right? No one will care about football anyway. For maybe the ones that were always caring about, yes, but the change in behavior for the ones that only care now, that is also a big part. Yeah. And it's all about patterns. So. And that's what really AI help us to see, right? To spot those patterns. You see one customer churns because of these, then we know that this will happen very often in this type of customer. And maybe the last one was, which is also very important, is to understand what the customer is feeling all the time. That is very important nowadays, because it's not only that you show the value today, you need to continuing showing that value all the time. Yeah,
cool. And so then what would be your biggest tip to like founders or CEOs or other CFOs in your space that maybe, obviously apart from get churn, but what would be like one what would be your biggest piece of advice in regards, like one retention metric that they should always keep an eye on, just to understand what they're, how likely people are to churn?
Yeah. Well, one metric that is very valuable to, I think, not only CFOs, also CEOs should have that in a very big dashboard, is NRR, and net revenue retention. That really tells you how much are you growing within your base of customers.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest ones to look at. But most of the times it's just a lack of focus to that subject. It's just, so the piece of advice I would say is remember churn, and remember how big of an impact that can have, not only on your growth, but on your cash flow, on your investment rounds. So don't disregard that churn, because what you're really spending money sometimes in acquiring new customers, you can maintain a few more with that same value. So that is most of the time the mistakes I see from founders is to disregard churn, thinking that they will fix it later. That's also not a today problem, but it's way easier to fix churn right in the beginning.
Yeah.
They often don't understand what churn drives from. So one thing that is very important is churn can be related to several things, right? One being very important to, for instance, SaaS type of business, is to understand if your value proposition is there. Because if it's not, then churn is hiding a way bigger problem than just churn itself. So really try to understand where your churn comes from. Is it from, I don't know, promises that were made, expectations that were not aligned in the beginning? Was it the onboarding part, which is the first contact you have with the customer? Is something broken there? Are your biggest features also being used by customers? That's one of very, very common. We spend so much time building features and then they are not being used. But most important one is to check if the value proposition is there and if you're showing that value to the customer.
Perfect. Awesome. So now then let's move over to more like the discussion around AI. Obviously, Churn is an AI powered business, so I'd imagine that AI plays a big part throughout the organization, the employees within the organization. But obviously, let's stick to the churn sort of part of it. So AI is obviously rapidly changing how businesses operate in general, but let's stick to that retention part for a moment. How's AI changing what we can do with retention now?
It's changing a lot, because right now before you had to analyze a lot of data and hire a lot of experienced people to understand what really happens often, right? So to look at all the patterns, you had to know someone that knew a lot. Right now, no, you can just use historical data. You don't even have to have the data, right? Because the models are already built with that data. So it changes. You start off in a very, very different part of the problem, right? You're not trying to figure out everything. You start off with the part that you already know what happens, what creates churn. You just need to identify, in your case, which one is it. So you don't need to learn everything about it, but more like you start off in a very different level of knowledge.
Yeah.
And it's very fast to also go through every data, confirming all your hypotheses. Everything is faster, I think.
So are we at a point yet where AI can basically predict exactly when a customer is likely to churn?
Yeah, I think so. That also depends a lot with the type of customer that you have, because AI is changing a lot the way also we behave. And there's a lot of variables now to our behavior, right? Not only what is trend right now, it's not only linked to the type of person you are, it's linked to a lot more. So I think it depends on the type of business. So for instance, if you think about a subscription for, I don't know, like Netflix or something like that, your customers are it's like all over the world, right? It's very hard to predict so accurately when you have such a diverse pool of customers. But if you're more focused on a specific industry, for instance, energy is a very different one, right? Usually customers are very price sensitive. It's not like you care too much about your energy supplier, right? You care about the price. So that enables you to really maybe spot that way better than to other type of business. So of course AI helps because the amount of information we need to check and build our models into, it's more, it makes it less complex. But to really get it right, of course, it always helps if you have a more generic, a more maybe more similar pool of people.
Okay, cool. And then what would you say is still uniquely human as part of the whole churn and retention world? Like where do humans still need to play a part and be an integral part of the whole retention journey?
That's a good one. I think we are still very useful, very very big part of the process. Well, first of all, we're humans, right? We know how we behave usually, so it's also easier for us to think about a bit more outside of the box, also because if you're looking at, and I'm a bit biased because I am a CFO, so I'm used to look at mainly numbers. But I know how usually or more often than not, that's not good. You need some context, right? If you're looking at a huge dashboard only with KPIs and you don't know the company that you're analyzing, I mean, you will get to some conclusions and maybe a few ones are correct, but you need a lot more context. You need to know who's behind that company, where is this company based, who are the people working on it. It's a lot more than just numbers and information there. You need to have a sense of things. I do think we are still quite useful in any journey, not only in the customer retention.
Absolutely, I agree. I think there's still a huge requirement. There's all the scaremongering around like AI is going to take everyone's job. I think I think there's a massive requirement for humans in the picture as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So I suppose then, beyond obviously, AI is a big part of churn itself, as a business and the sort of customer facing side of the business. But in regards to like you and your role as like a modern CFO, how are you using AI to help you do your job?
Yeah. So I notice nowadays that I'm way more. I spend a lot more time in thinking of things, thinking ahead, thinking forward. just analyzing data within my dashboards, AI-powered dashboards.
Yeah.
So that is the biggest change. Before, we had to collect all the data from every other team. Usually finance is that annoying person in the company that goes after everyone, asking where's the data and if the data is accurate or not. Nowadays, if everyone is using AI, you don't even have to add the data manually to your tools, right? Things are flowing way easier within the company. So that is one problem that we don't have anymore. Information is flowing, information is there. Most of the times it's accurate. If not, you can also spot it easily. So how I use it, I build a lot of dashboards, internal dashboards, external dashboards. And yeah, that's the main part. So, and also to update my 1 or 2 Excel files that I still have. But that's mainly it. And also linking softwares to each other. That's also the reason why I use it. But then this means that I don't have to spend time in making presentations, making dashboards. I just need to spend my time looking at all the data, make that part that we talk about being useful as a human. This is the part that I think I add more value, is to really understand where we are as a company, but also where we're going to go. I think that leaves a lot more time to do the fun parts about finance and the fun part about the job.
Yeah, awesome, amazing. And how quickly has this changed for you? Like, I'd imagine it's been a very recent, again, just imagining a CFO in the current climate, in the current modern world. I think it must be a very quick change. Like, how recent has all these changes been for you?
Yeah, it's been very fast from the moment I started with something, and then now, like, I remember maybe a year ago that we were still discussing about ChatGPT, that it was the best thing, and then the discussion becomes, no, Gemini is the best. No, now it's like Claude. No, you don't use Claude, then you're no one. And the discussions go very fast, and we spend a lot of time trying to get the most value out of these tools. I use a few other ones for more specific things, but I would say I've also benefited a lot from being at Churn, because it is very core AI based, and also our CEO and founders are completely obsessed with AI. So we often have like a monthly meeting. We have a monthly meeting, and usually the CEO presents something like an AI tool or something that he just discovered. It can be just prompts or and then we have kind of a workshop to understand how to use it. And then this is like on a Friday, on Monday, everyone is using. So I've been also very lucky in that part, that I've been learning a lot about these tools and how to use them. But definitely, I think it's like a boat that already is sailing quite well. And if you're not there, I'm not sure how you're going to go there, because it's already evolved so much. And especially, I think as a CFO, if it really changes completely our job. It's not about historical data anymore. It's not about how the company it is. It's not about analyzing the previous months. It's really looking forward type of job.
Amazing. And what does the team look like at Churn? And is is how does the AI adoption look? You know, is everyone totally on board with it? Is there some departments that are slightly more reluctant than others? Like, how has that journey looked like in regards to the adoption of AI?
I think it's, yeah, I don't see any department that is not really there. But it is also a very natural thing. I think I've seen companies like that when your leadership is one way or has specific values that often goes beyond that leadership team, right? You tend to hire people with that sort of the same values, the same type of tech savvy people. So it's very natural. Even if it's one or two, they're probably, I don't know, probably they're gonna leave, or they will submit to, well, this is actually pretty cool once they see it. So it's very natural within the company, but maybe because of that, because it's a very cultural thing. It's not just it's not something that it's imposed to you. It's, we live off to it. Like, it's our product is like that. So it's very natural.
Yeah. Awesome. So before we begin wrapping up, I just want to ask some quick fire questions. So this is just the first thought that comes into your head, just in a few different things. So in your opinion, what's the most underrated retention metric?
Underrated metric.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd say NR.
Okay, NRR, perfect. And then what's one thing that every CFO should understand about customer behavior?
I think more than customer behavior, because we don't have that, we don't have any touch with customers, right? Customers are something very far away from a CFO. We never had the chance to get to know them. I think it's more the reason why they behave so in a way. Usually it's behind your product.
Yeah.
So if you look inside, I think you will see that behavior part.
Perfect. And then what's the biggest mistake you see subscription businesses make? You know, whether that is like just how, like, what's it? Yeah. If you own a subscription business right now, what's the biggest mistake you see them making?
Focus only on growth by acquiring new customers.
Yeah.
Because really, churn is like your tax on growth.
Yeah.
And it really comes to you.
Yeah, perfect. And finally, what's the best advice you've ever received as a finance leader?
The best advice, it was not really an advice, but someone one time called me a CNO, and he told me, you're the navigator officer. And you're the co-pilot of the company. And that really resonates once you do this job. It helped me understood that, okay, then what I'm experiencing, what I'm feeling it's what it's supposed to be. Yeah. So I wouldn't say an advice, but maybe clarity in my role.
Yeah. Amazing. Thanks very much, Ana. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast today. Before we go, where's the best place for our listeners to find you and the business? Yeah,
well, go to churn.io. That's where you find us. Yeah, talk to any of our sales team. Perfect. You can also find me on LinkedIn, of course.
LinkedIn, perfect. We'll put all that in the show notes as well. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, Ana,
Thank you, Eric,
for the conversation. And yeah, we'll talk to you all next time.
Amazing. Thank you.